Welcome guys, this is George and I'm going to introduce you to the new Behringer Xenyx X32USB mixer. And this is what we're going to be using with the Pantoscopic tilt to hopefully produce our performances and maybe even our recordings in the near future. I'm going to start over here with the different channels that we have. You got 6 XLR inputs, so we can plug up to 6 microphones in there. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't have any effects on the microphone right now, but we're going to try to go through those. It's tricky because I'm holding the iPhone with one hand and I'm holding the microphone with the other hand. I do not have a mic stand, which would of course make it a little bit easier for me to do this. Anyway, let's go through the channels. There's 6 identical channels that all have the same controls on them. I don't know if this thing can focus a little bit better. Let's see. This is the iPhone 5 I'm using, so it's not quite as intuitive as the 6 that I have. So you have the 2 inputs on each channel. One is for XLR, the other one's 1/4 inch. And the 1/4 inch says on it, balanced or unbalanced. So yes, you could technically take a guitar line and plug it right into there, although I don't recommend it with Neb's short cables. Line in, you got the low cut there. That is for eliminating any kind of low boomy bass sounds. Like sometimes we stand on a platform, and the platform itself makes noise, and hitting that button would cut out the noise of the platform. The next thing is your gain. That adjusts the sensitivity of the microphone. Right now I have that on at about 11 o'clock position. I'm going to try to hold the phone with my hand that's holding the microphone so I can reach over and turn the knob. Bear with me here. Okay. So this is we're going to turn that up a little bit. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. And, I'm bringing the microphone closer to my mouth so it's a little louder now. I can actually hear myself out of the speaker. So that's at about 4 o'clock position, and that's really, really sensitive. Now, I have the slider on this particular channel down. If I put that up, it'll get really loud, and we don't want it to be too loud. It's late at night, and everybody's in bed at the house. So I'm going to turn the slider down a little bit. That'll reduce the amount of this channel going into the mix, and I'll also turn down the gain a little bit. Okay, and that just adjusts the sensitivity of the microphone that I'm holding in my hand. I believe you can still hear me. The next knob down is compression, and that just kind of helps level off all the different channels so that no particular channel, and this is how I understand it. I could be wrong. I need to study a little bit more on this. But it helps cut too many channels from getting louder than others. That's how I understand the compression to work. I don't know if that'll make any difference if I turn a knob on that. I'm going to do the same thing with the phone here. Hold the phone in one hand, hold the mic in the same hand, and then reach up here, play with the compression, and see what happens. Compression, turning it up, turning it up, turning it up, turning it up. And it's hard to tell when there's only one thing plugged in with the compression. So it'll probably make more of a difference when we have multiple channels plugged in at the same time. The next is the EQ. This is your highs. Everything's turned way down. So, this is turned down. I'm going to bring my highs up. This is 12 o'clock on high, and this is going to be turning it all the way up. That's my high all the way up. You could probably notice a little bit of a difference. I'm going to turn it back to 12 o'clock, starting at about 7 o'clock. Next one is your mid-range. That's turned all the way down. So that's actually cutting mid-range. So we're going to bring that up. 12 o'clock is basically not taking away any and not adding any. So this is just flat. Now I'm going to add some mid-range, adding it, adding it, adding it. And, bring that up to about 5 o'clock. Probably sounds awful on there, so I'll bring that back down to 12. The next one is called Frequency Sweep, and I'm not totally sure exactly what this does, but it does definitely change the sound. Again, we're starting at the 7 o'clock position. Going to stop it at the 5 o'clock position, and I don't know how bad this is going to sound on the recording. You know, I'm looking at my hand. I'm not actually watching the screen. Sorry about that. So this is the sweep. We're going to turn that back down to the 12 o'clock position. Remember, I started at about the 7 o'clock. And this one doesn't really seem to have a locking position. I'm not feeling like, you know, the other one's kind of clicked in at 12 o'clock. This one here, this frequency thing isn't really locking in any place particular. All right, and then we're going to do the low mixer next. So this whole section here, they call that their British graphic equalizer. So we're going to bring up the bass a little bit. Bring up the bass. That's the 12 o'clock position. That's neither cutting nor enhancing nor adding. So we're going to bring the bass up a little bit. Going to bring it up to 5 o'clock, and then we'll bring it back down to 12 o'clock. So this is where everything should be for the most part, just at like the 12 o'clock positions. Yeah, again, I apologize for the really poor cinematography because I'm trying to hold the microphone and the phone with one hand. Watch what I'm doing. Real life, I'm actually looking at my own hand, but I'm not really looking at the screen. Okay, going down the list here. This is an auxiliary send, and this is going to be the knob that we use to send to determine how much of each signal will go to the monitors, not necessarily the house speakers. We're going to have a couple of, you know, the speakers we've been using for monitors we're actually going to use as monitors now, rather than, well, it's just going to be done, set up a different way. The speakers that we have been using for monitors will actually have their own controls on them now. So this will send, this controls how much of this channel goes to the monitor mix, and it's kind of like connecting the connecting the dots. These red knobs tie into this red slider over here. Okay, this orange slider is for effects, and this orange slider is for effects, this orange knob is for effects, and this orange knob is for effects. So it's kind of like color-coded, and you know, you connect the dots. The next one is basically your balance. They call it pan. You know, you can pan so that it goes to the left. You can pan so that it goes to stereo. Right now you would hear me out of your left ear, and now you should hear me in both. And then now the other thing this board has that the other one didn't have are mute buttons. See, all these little pretty lights. Let's see, there they go. Now you can see them. All these other channels I have muted. Not that there's anything plugged into them, but I think if you're not using a channel, it should be muted. So there's a mute button here. You turn them on and turn them off. You know, when the light's on, it's muted. I can mute my own self, but then you won't be able to hear me. You have no idea what I just said because it was muted, didn't you? So, you know, if you're using a channel, you unmute it. That's what this button does. Okay, next down here are 3 buttons along with the slider. This is your main control, like how this puts how much of this channel itself goes into the mix. You know, I'm turning it up, turning it up, turning it up, turning it up, turning it up. Yeah, it's getting loud. Turn it down. Okay, and then when you do that, it gets really loud. So you don't want that any higher than 0. Okay. Again, I'm watching my hand. I'm not watching the screen. So forgive me if I messed that up. Now, it has these 3 buttons down here. Now, see, you got all the channels going at the same time. But I just want to hear Ned. Ned's going to be normally in channel number 1. We can also write his name in there or put sticky notes on there saying what each of these channels are going to be for. But if you just want to hear Ned, you hit this button. It's called solo. Now you hit solo, and this is the only line you're going to hear. There's nothing, you know, if everybody else is playing, You hit that one, and now all you hear is line 1. Okay, unhit it, and then you hear everybody else. The second one is, okay, if we're going to be using monitors, you want to send the signal to that monitor. So you hit that button, and that'll send the signal to the other monitor. Right now I don't need it pushed in because I only have one speaker plugged in, so I'm not going to bother with that. But this one here puts the sound out to the main, this button here. If that button's not pushed, it's you can't hear anything. So that's the basics of each of the 6 channels here. Now, there's 4 more channels here that, the only thing that they're missing are these 2 top 3 controls. Your low cut, your gain, and your compression. Those four extra channels don't have those. So Mike, our Mixmaster Mike, will now be in channel 7 and 8 with his Hammond SK2. I will now take up residence at channel 5 for my vocals, and if I'm fortunate enough to get my drums plugged into this thing, I'll be on channel 6 with my bass drum. And anything else, if I decide to mic anything else on the drum set, I will go through one of the smaller, older mixers and plug myself into 9 and 10 on that. So I can plug up to 4 more drums, plug it into the other mixer, and then plug that into here, the left and right. So this left and right will be for Mixmaster Mike. These 2, future use for the drum set, perhaps. Other instruments, if we happen to get a bass guitar, we can plug them into one of these guys here. Lots and lots of expandability that we have with this board that we did not have with the other board. I've been going around for about 12 minutes and 20 seconds here, so I'm going to take a break and try sending this over to you guys.